Hi, I'm Alexa. This is a real life Alexa channel, and today we're going to talk about parental estrangement or familial estrangement. It's been on my mind a lot. When I was younger, probably in the early 2000s, I stopped talking to my mother, and some of that was distance between us physically made it easy, and the internet wasn't as big a thing, and so on. And some of it was a conscious choice that I couldn't take any more of what she was doing. In around 2009, I gave her a chance and I laid out very clearly some specific boundaries that I would walk away if she crossed them. I was emphatic in these rules that I laid down. In the very end of 2017, in January of 2018, it's the last time I've had contact with my mother. She'd started some stuff with one of my family members and it spilled over, and genuinely, I don't think she could help herself. I don't think she understands that what she did was what she did. Understanding that doesn't give her the right to then hurt me and the people I love by doing it. And if you know someone is not going to change, you have a few choices. You can be miserable trying to bash your head against a wall to get them to change. You can accept they're not going to change and stick it out, and in a lot of ways hurt yourself. Or you can choose to walk away. And there's, between sticking around and fully walking away, there's, levels of contact you can have. In the past few years, probably driven by a lot of things, but I think the internet is massively helping bring these issues to light, such that where people didn't know about them before, people like myself are able to share. And if you are in a very small community and you don't know anyone else who doesn't talk to their mother, they just all deal with it. No one knows what you're going through. Getting online and finding a community of people who have been through something you are going through, and realizing that there's a different way of responding to it, handling it, it can be very liberating. And I do think that a lot of bad stuff that used to be kept hush hush in local news never really made it. There wasn't a way to get news out the way there is now, to disseminate it to such large quantities of people. I think that we're seeing things because we are able to see them now on the internet. I don't think that things are necessarily happening more often. I do think that in this case, people are seeing that others are cutting their parents off for very specific reasons, and realizing that they've gone through similar things. I was reading up on this today to kind of get my thoughts in order for this, and this one woman in an article, she basically says mental health is more talked about now, so it's easier to say these people are bad for my mental health. I think as well, people are getting more confident at drawing their own boundaries and saying no to people. She also said that through therapy, I came to understand that abuse and neglect were words that described my childhood. Just because I wasn't hit didn't mean I wasn't harmed. And I think that those quotes stood out to me because that has been my journey. I started therapy in the early 2000s. I knew I needed help. I was in such a dark, terrible place. And I remember as a teen, when I would be asked why I moved to live with my dad in America, what the the situation was. Anytime I came close to revealing stuff about what happened with my mother, people would sort of get a horrified look on their face. And I would always clarify, and I'd be like, I mean, I wasn't hit or anything. It wasn't bad. Like, as if not being hit made it okay. And I guess I'm definitely still grappling with that a little bit. It's very hard to say that what I went through was abusive, that it was harmful, and to sit with that and to know that here today I still have to cope with the ramifications of being a trauma survivor, of having coping mechanisms, of being hyper independent, and I mean hyper independent. It affects the relationships I have with everyone, you know? And there's a lot of work that I have done over the years. I don't know that a lot of people would recognize me today as a trauma survivor in most interactions. I hope that I've done enough healing to be in the world the way I wish to be in the world, to be there and to be able to interact with people. And even if my brain is maybe saying one thing, the self-doubt is very real. I think that I do have much more healthy interactions with people these days. The rise of such political divisiveness, and this is not just in the US, this is global, has definitely driven rifts into families. To hear someone you love echo something from the opposite side of the spectrum, potentially about groups of people that you would never have thought they would have thought that thought, it can be jarring, and it can be a trauma in and of itself to realize that someone you love thinks something that's so outside of what you would have thought they would think, outside of what you think is acceptable, normal. I think that following that with a pandemic where a lot of people were isolated, there was a lot of, especially if you don't live close to your family, if you were following lockdowns, you might not be seeing people and you might realize how much your mental health is a little better, versus you could also be in a situation where most people didn't follow lockdowns and you'd be like, what the heck is going on? Why are they not? Right? There's a whole bunch of ways you can look at this. Whatever side you're on, it can be jarring to see the other think something so different from you. So I think that this is very much why the press is starting to pick up on these familial breaks. But to me, reading about it, it's like, it's not new. It's not our society is falling apart and these millennials and Gen X are breaking our families. No, our families were broken before us. We were not the people who broke our families. We are just trying our hardest to live in a world that doesn't cause more trauma. And I think that's true of many people. I think some people are so far in their trauma that they are unable to even see it's trauma. And I think that it's very hard, if you've never been through something, to understand why someone like myself genuinely has come to this decision that it is better off to not talk to my mother. I also do not talk to one of my siblings. I have several. I'm on good terms with most of my family. There's 2 people in my family that I don't talk to, my mother and a sibling. And unfortunately, the way someone treats you, if someone makes it clear, and this is me personally, if someone makes it clear to me that there is nothing about me that they think is good enough, that I need to change everything, And they don't like being around me because I'm just useless, that I'm just stupid, that I am ignorant, that I am pathetic, that I am completely incapable and should just do it how they tell me to do it. I'm going to make this real easy for them, and I'm going to take myself out of their life. If you don't like me, I'm not going to force myself on you. Don't worry, I will just walk away. I'll make it easy for both of us. It doesn't mean that there isn't grief in making that decision. It doesn't mean that there isn't pain that comes up. I was wondering why it was bothering me so much, and I realized that it a week ago was 6 years of cutting that second person off. So 6.5 and 6 years. 6.5 years, the most recent cutoff with my mother, and 6 years with my sibling. And I don't have the answers, right? I don't have the answers on how to get through it all, how to fill those voids that are left. But I do know that what I'm feeling today is nothing compared to how I would feel when I was in contact with these people and they would go off on me and they would do the abusive things that they would do. And I wish that they could understand. As much as I'm not here to try and ask other people to change. I think that people can be who they are, and then we all have the choice to decide if they're part of our lives. But when you are in some sort of relationship, and that can be friendship, it can be familial, it can be romantic, when you are in a relationship and you care about someone, to me, I would actually try to be more of the things they like, to do more of the things they like. Because when you care about someone, you want to do things that they're going to enjoy, that make them happier, right? And that's what life is. And it's a balance of expectations. So I cannot expect other people to think the same way as I do. I cannot expect myself to get it right all the time, because I know I don't. And I can't demand that other people change. I can ask nicely for them to understand what they're doing is hurting me. I can ask nicely that they not do those things. And at the end of the day, I can then say, if you're going to do them, I'm gone. I don't know how it affects them. I can guess at some of the feelings, and losing control over someone they thought they could control is probably a horrible feeling for them, based on everything I know about um, abuse and abusers, narcissism, high control situations. And I hope that if you're in a situation where you have to make a choice and people around you might not understand that choice, I hope that you're able to make the choice for yourself, because your value is inherent. You don't deserve to be treated badly just because you exist. I definitely recommend, if you are in a situation, that you do look for help. As I mentioned at the beginning, I think therapy is so valuable, and you might go through phases where it's more beneficial, and then you might want to you're not getting anything out of it for a while, then you might need to go back again, That's fine. You're allowed to stop and start. You're allowed to find a different therapist. You're allowed to try different things. So if you are one of those people who has absolutely no idea how it's possible for a person to cut their parent out of their life, I mean, congratulations. I'm happy for you that you don't understand that you've never had to go through the things that can lead a person to this choice. I would just ask that maybe trust that people are making this decision after a lot of thought, and that it's not something simple, and that they truly know what's best for themselves. I'm not really sure how to end this one tonight. It's been a little all over the place, I feel, but it's one of those things that I live with. And I see other people going through things I went through years ago. And I feel for them because I know it's going to be so difficult to get through. But if they get through it, it's going to be much easier, and there's going to be a peace that comes eventually. I think melancholy is probably the closest word. Like, there's always a sort of sadness, but it's not, it's sort of just there, over there in your life. Like, it's not front and center all the time. It's not all consuming. It does take the work. You have to do it. And there will be times where something new comes up that triggers the feelings again. But after you've gotten through the first few things, anything else that comes up, you can face and you can get through. Okay, I am still talking. And I feel like it could have stopped maybe a couple minutes ago. If you made it this far, thank you. If you're struggling, my heart goes out to you, and I truly wish you what you need to heal. And if you were a parent who was cut off, or a loved one who was cut off, I don't know what to say other than that the person who did it had genuinely deep feelings and reasons, good reasons to do it. I don't know if that helps. I don't know if that's too harsh a truth to look at. But either way, I thank you all for being here. And as always, be kind to yourself.